This year's Money in the Bank pay-per-view garnered some polarizing opinions from the wrestling community, as whilst many enjoyed the fast-paced and hard-hitting spot-fest action from the two Money in the Bank matches, and many regarding the Universal title match as being one of the best of the year, a number of WWE fans were irate and confused at the decision to have part-timer Brock Lesnar win the men's match and become this year's Money in the Bank winner. But apart from that, we still had a solid show. However, solid show or not, there were still a number of mistakes and fails that you might have missed, and this being live television, there's normally no time for do-overs. Anyway, let's waste no further time and get straight into number 1, a screwy kickoff. As with all WWE pay-per-views, they always start off with a kickoff show to try and hype the show, and mainly to lure in some fans which are still on the fence about subscribing to the network. However, more recently, the kickoff show has been a haven for a number of mistakes and fails. In recent times, we've seen a cameraman fall on his rear while focusing on his shot of Chad Gable and Bobby Roode during their entrance at the Royal Rumble, and during the construction of the Elimination Chamber, there had been a minor accident with one of its workers. It really goes to show we pay attention to everything on screen, and it seems that tonight was no different, as multiple mistakes were witnessed or even heard on the Money in the Bank pre-show. The inaugural mistake of the show was heard during a backstage interview with Lacey Evans, as she was unknowingly joined by the voice of the production team, which could clearly be heard in the background during her promo. It was fairly obvious that one member of the team had forgotten to mute his radio, as the promo was delivered live. Moments later, those in the production truck hadn't improved the audio, as during yet another backstage segment, Kevin Owens would speak on his dislike for the WWE Champion, ripping into him before imitating the New Day chant. For UK fans that were already falling asleep, here was your wake-up call, as his shouting of the chant turned into screaming as the audio was almost entirely distorted.
A new day!
Furthermore, before the pre-show would head into its first match, and perhaps planting the seeds for a future feud between the two, things got pretty heated between Zelina Vega and Sonya Deville. No doubt getting caught up in the moment, Coach struggled to process his thoughts by first stopping both women as he claimed he had a question, but then left the panel with an awkward silence as he didn't even follow up with one. He also addressed Corey Graves as Renee Young, mentioning, "While we control this, let's head down to ringside, Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton and Renee Young." Unhappy with the introduction, Corey couldn't help but correct Coach, saying, "I'm still trying to get over the fact that Coach called me Renee Young. I'm Corey Graves. I'm right here." Following the hard-hitting encounter between the reigning SmackDown Tag Team Champions Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan, who took on the Usos, a match that featured multiple stinging knife-edge chops to the chest, Eric Rowan became the first superstar of the night to shed blood, having a small cut on his finger. Okay, this wasn't a bloodbath similar to JBL vs Eddie Guerrero, but any sight of blood in WWE normally gets the fans going. This was followed by a promo hyping Becky 2 belts, showing Becky Lynch's victory at WrestleMania 35. However, you might recall that things got a little chilly in New Jersey that night, with the top part of her attire becoming somewhat see-through. WWE noticed, and during the promo package, they were forced to blur it out. Number 2, an unplanned finish. Following yet another incredible Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, the bout for the United States Championship would take place. To start things off, Joe would focus his attention on the knees of Rey Mysterio, in a bid to slow down the Lucha Libre legend in the ring. However, bouncing back, Rey would take advantage of his quick agility to foil his plans, but this seemed to be a curse in disguise, as within just the first minute, a top rope sit-down senton would send Rey crashing onto the nose of Joe, seemingly breaking it in the process. After that, it became pretty evident that Mysterio was concerned for the situation, looking to the referee for any signal of stoppage. After a series of exchanges, the referee would quietly signal to both men to take it home earlier than expected. Samoa Joe would lift Rey up for the powerbomb, of which he countered into a Hurricane Rana and an eventual pinfall. Rey would score the victory and take home the belt. Not only did Rey take the title home, but he now goes down in the history books as becoming a Grand Slam champion. It's currently unknown if this was the original finish, but the match was undoubtedly cut short. It also seemed as if Dominic was planned to play a role in the match, as cameras cut back to an awkwardly surprised son looking on at his father in the ring. It's also important to note that despite the referee staring at both shoulders of Joe being completely off the mat, he would count to 3 nonetheless. Commentary picked up on this, and it seemed as if this plan was either quickly reconstructed or it was to take place all along, as multiple replays would go on to show this. Despite a severe injury to the nostrils, Joe still had it in him to deliver a post-match beatdown of Mysterio. Number 3. A savage crowd. During the second encounter between The Miz and Shane McMahon, this time locked up in a steel cage, the crowd started early with having a bit of fun, beginning with the famous CM Punk chants, but they didn't stop there. They would also start chants of AEW, the company WWE are trying to pretend doesn't exist at the minute, and supposedly banning fans from entering the arena if they sported an AEW t-shirt. However, reports coming from multiple news sites suggest the WWE is concerned about AEW and staged a meeting before the pay-per-view to discuss it. Number 4. Referees throw out the rulebook. Not only did an official count 3 for Rey Mysterio when pinning Samoa Joe with not one but both shoulders up, things would escalate even further during the battle between The Miz and Shane McMahon. In what should have been the finish to the match, The Miz would go on to deliver a skull-crushing finale to Shane McMahon with his head bouncing off the steel chair. But when he went for a pinfall, McMahon would reach his right leg on the bottom rope, subsequently leading to referee Rod Zapata stopping the count. However, the rules of a steel cage match state that rope breaks do not count, meaning that this one should have gone to 3. It could be that this is going to be used in a storyline going forward, as commentary didn't take long to talk about it. Number 5. Cruiserweight slip-up. For the first time in what seems like forever, a Cruiserweight Championship match wouldn't take place on the Kickoff show and instead take place midway through the night. However, this didn't mean that they could avoid their usual slip-ups, quite literally. When attempting a reverse Boston Crab, Daivari would make a misstep, landing on his rear end before quickly getting back to action. But in addition, when Cruiserweight champion Tony Nese retained his belt, the ring announcer would go on to claim, "And still your WWE Bruiserweight champion." It seems that he had Pete Dunne on his mind following the recent WWE UK tour. Number 6. Sloppy Ending Part 1. Despite a decent enough match between Lacey Evans and Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship, the finish to it didn't exactly go to plan. During the closing moments in which Lacey's roll-up would be transformed into the disarmer submission for the win, it took some time to lock in, and Corey Graves would go on to mention, Becky's shoulders were down for a solid 4 seconds before referee Rod Zapata would inexplicably walk around the ring for an alternative angle, stalling for Becky to counter into her submission, but technically she should have lost the match. Number 7. Sloppy Ending Part 2. In her second match of the night, it became noticeable that Becky's chances were becoming slim for a victory when Charlotte Flair immediately appeared after the Raw Women's title match. In the finishing moments of an action-packed match, Evans would interfere, delivering the women's right to Lynch. From there, Charlotte would deliver a big boot, but it was even visible to Ray Charles that this one wasn't even close to connecting. Despite getting the victory, the overall outcome was definitely one fans can celebrate, as Flair would receive what one fan claimed as her shortest championship regain in history. Number 8. Lars is a tomato. In a somewhat random and unannounced segment, all 3 members of the Lucha House Party would take to the ring to claim that it was time for a party, at which point the entrance theme of Lars Sullivan would hit. Entering the ring, Lars would take down both Gran Metalik and Lince Dorado before delivering a hard headbutt to Kalisto. But in the process, Lars was busted open on the top of his skull. Some suspect this was planned, but it blatantly looked hard way, not looking like a typical cut to the forehead, but more a hard graze. Number 9. Camera Crew Chaos. The WWE Championship match was earmarked as Kofi's first pay-per-view title defense since winning it at WrestleMania 35, as he would take on Kevin Owens. With Owens taking the advantage early on, he threw Kofi to the outside, but during the process, he also went body first into the cameraman. Brock Lesnar also made his WWE return by being Sami Zayn's replacement as the 8th man in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. But as Ali was about to grab the briefcase, out came the Beast Incarnate, who charged down to the ring, ready to grab the briefcase, but in doing so, he pushed some ladders that came crashing down onto the camera crew on the outside. And number 10. A last-minute change. It can be said that some fans were left in disgust after Brock Lesnar, who wasn't even involved in the match, made his way down to the ring and unhooked the briefcase high above the ring. However, the Beast Incarnate wasn't the first choice to be the winner, as McIntyre and Ali were two of Vince's first choices and were told of the plans well in advance, but just until the pay-per-view started, Lesnar, who was snuck into the arena, was told that he would be winning. This last-minute change in plan was definitely seen as the most controversial moment of the night, as had he not won it, the majority of WWE fans would have walked away feeling satisfied, but many were instead left in disgust. But there you have it guys, some mistakes and fails that you might have missed from the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Are there any we missed out? Let us know in the comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.